Stefano with a practical practice.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you. Frederick Alexander was an actor in the late 1900s, actually in the late 19th century. And he was a brilliant Shakespearean actor who discovered for himself that when you collapse your neck and bring your shoulders tight in this way, such as when you're nervous or have a little bit of stress going on, you can cut your voice off completely. And that is horrible for a Shakespearean actor. Joseph Pilates was a prisoner of war. While he was a prisoner of war, he discovered a way to keep his mind as well as his body healthy and, shall I say, sane while you're in the prisoner, as a prisoner. So he used physical movements, the bed that was in the prison room, in his cell, and he developed movements that helped his body maintain his health as well as his mental composure. So I'm going to bring these two blokes to the forefront of your mind because they have changed my life. I have experienced severe and debilitating back and neck issues personally, and I have helped others by doing very simple things relieve back and neck issues. So with that, will you all please stand? Now, I'm not going to get into shoes. That's for another speech. But I will say it sometimes starts with shoes, because if we tend to walk around in, lovely as they are, these shoes, or shoes that are tight, we're going to find that our toes are crunched and contracted. And so with that in mind, be aware that if you can stretch your toes out onto the earth and rock back and forth, you'll find a center for yourself. So you're not leaning forward and you're not leaning back, but you're right in that center. That base will give you a foundation that allows for the rest of your body to be in the position that will release pain from your back and your neck. Now, I'm going to give you a visual, and then I want you to feel this as we go along. So just a before and after. Let's take a look at this, y'all. And that's the side view, so the front view. And now look at this. And the front view. Okay, so you've seen it. Now let's feel it. Take your hands and place your wrists on your pelvic bones. Then take your index and your middle finger to your pubic bone. And it doesn't matter if you have poochies, it's okay. I want you to find your bone structure. So from there, if you can find your bone structure, we're going to do what Joseph Pilates taught, and that is find our neutral spine. So once again, if we have our pelvic bone here and our pubic bone is pushed way under, or even pushed forward for that matter, you can see and feel the compression on that low back. So all we're going to do is adjust ever so slightly and find the pelvic bone and the pubic bone on the same plane. That's what Joseph Pilates called neutral spine. And if you do that, you will feel something internal. It's your pelvic floor muscles. It's the wall of the pelvic floor that will engage or contract. So it will hold those bones from the muscles in place where you want them to be, which is the neutral spine, as opposed to a place where we get in the habit of standing and those muscles get in the habit of holding us out of place. So we want to just gently bring the pelvic bone and the pubic bone into the same plane, once again visually, and you can feel that if you do that for yourself, that neutral spine. Now you can do this standing or sitting. You want to be aware of that neutral spine. Now from there, let's just take this floating rib and the pelvic bone, and we're going to create some space here. So if we're collapsed, not only is our breathing constricted, but our vocal cords, just because we're collapsed here. So if we stretch that space there, all of a sudden we have opened up this area. Right. Now let's look at the 10-pound, 12-pound ball that we carry around. And if we carry it around like this, you can imagine the contraction on the shoulders or the pain because your shoulders are tight because they have to carry around this ball. Did you know the head is actually not attached by the bones? It's attached from the muscle and the skin. But if you pull that head, gently place it back on top of the body where it belongs, and no longer thrusting forward, straining all these muscles, literally, instantly, you can take pressure off the vocal cords, off your breathing, and all of a sudden, and David probably knows this as a singer, you have the ability to carry with your voice, and this is what Frederick Alexander was teaching, and is now the Alexander technique. So once again, and you all can probably feel this, yes? Are you with me on it? So you can see it, and you can feel it. Once again, this applies to sitting as well. So take a seat, and as you do, notice what your body maybe is in the habit of doing. Can you feel, did you just plop down? Well, even when we're sitting, we can adjust ourselves and find neutral spine. There are sit bones. Most of us tend to sit back here on our tailbone. And when you do that, it puts a tremendous pressure on your low back. So what I'd like for you to understand is that those sit bones are there for a reason. You can lift your little flesh away so you can feel your sit bones. And almost instantly, that takes pressure off that back. Now, it does engage your tummy muscles, and that's a good thing. And that will naturally start to develop when you sit in these proper ways, or when you sit in the way of what Joseph Pilates was talking about, and that's the neutral spine. So sit bones lifted, pushed back slightly. So no more sitting in your car like this. We're going to sit our bum all the way back. We're going to find our sit bones. And the rest of the body starts to come into a position where if we look at our neck, and once again we get that head on top of the body, the neck muscles can be free and released. And when we stand up, instead of losing our whole shape that we've just worked on, we imagine that there's a string coming from the back of our neck, and we lift up from there. And Alexander was talking about that in that if we release that neck and keep the neck long and lifted, we will create and sustain the power of our vocal cords, of our breathing, and all the repercussions that can happen as a result of that compressed spine and neck, which is headaches, insomnia, and the like. I would like to encourage all of you to seek out Pilates, Alexander technique, or just practice what I've just shared with you.